Hello and welcome back. So let's imagine now we are beginning our school here, and let's start as being a lecturer. That way we can write a test, and then once we write a test, we can view the test itself as a teacher or a lecturer, and then we can allow students to write some answers and then mark those. So I'm beginning as a lecturer. Let me log out here. The lecturer is vibe@yahoo.com, password. Okay, so if I'm a lecturer here and I go to tests, I want to add a new test. Now, to add a test, I need to know the class that I'm adding a test to. So I'll go to classes. So I have this class right here, a second class. So let me create a new class to start with. So I want to have students in this class. So this class will be called, let's see, let's call it general knowledge class. Okay, cool. Now already, as we can see here, I cannot create this class. It's not being created. So we've already seen a problem here. But let's go to our PHP My Admin, and let's see inside classes if that class was actually created. So there's knowledge class here, and it was created by Vibe Peters. And so all the information has been saved here, but the school ID is correct, the user ID is correct, but I just can't see the class here. Okay, so this one I can see for some reason. This one is second class, even though this one belongs to another user, which is the admin, and not me. So it seems we have a slight problem here, because what's happening is that we have this table here. So let me explain this a little bit. We have this table here called class lecturers. So this is what tells us which lecturers belong to which class. Okay. Now the problem is, when you create a class to start with, it doesn't have any members in it. So what we are supposed to do is make sure that whoever creates the class at least gets to see it even before members are added to it. So if I go to classes here, and we have this class in here, it does have a user ID. So we should take this into account, as this one being the creator, they should at least be able to see it. This is before they even add members to it. So here what's happening is that in our code as classes.php, we are simply looking for people that belong to that class in this, let's say we are a lecturer, in class lecturers, right? So let's change this a little bit. We should combine this result with another result somewhere. So there's a part where we're actually reading from the classes table. And where is that? So select join classes.classes. I see. So this is for the find. So we can ignore this for now. We will deal with the searches later. But here, this is reading from class lecturers, which is this table here, and there's only one class that belongs to Vibe Peters here, and this is the one, and not the one we created recently. So what happens is, once we get the class ID here, then we go ahead and read the class's information as well. But what we should do is we should also read from here and get class IDs as well. So from classes, we should read whichever class belongs to this user ID, and then we collect those class IDs as well. That way we can reread them from here again. So we should look for the part where we have all the class IDs, right? So the query is right here, and then we are running the query from here. And for each, which is the result, we are getting using the class ID, then we are adding that to this. So what we need to do is inside this student classes, even though this is wrongly shown here, we should also add another array to this. So let's create a so we're going to use our user ID as well. So we'll say, let's put comments here so that we can remember this. Get class IDs from classes that don't already have members. Okay. So you can add any comments that you want here so that you can easily remember this. All we need to know is we want to add whatever array we get here to this one. So let's run a query here very quickly, and the query is going to be something like select, but first of all here I'm getting a row from row class ID. So the only thing I need is the class ID, that's it. So I can simply read the class ID by itself because I don't want anything else to reduce the amount of data that we retrieve. So we say select class ID from classes where the user ID is equal to user ID. Okay, so we'll get all of them that this user has created and add to the list. Now the problem is we may end up with duplicate class IDs here. So we should be careful with that as well. Because what I mean is this. Let's come back here for a second. So this table contains all the classes, right? Now if I read from here as a member, Vibe Peters, for example, if I go to class lecturers, or actually the advantage is that I will not be able to add myself, so maybe that is actually consolation. Maybe it won't work out that way. So let's try it without having to remove any IDs for now. So what I'm reading here is inside here, I'm looking for a particular ID, which is Vibe Peters, and I'm looking for all classes that belong to this user ID. Right now it's just one here, but that's okay because once we go back to class lecturers, there's another class here that belongs to Vibe Peters where he is a lecturer as well. So we'll have two class IDs now, which will lead to two classes being displayed. So let's do the same thing here and just get class user ID is equal to user ID. That's okay. Then let's get this again, and so these ones are the ones I own, so I don't know what to call them here. Classes I own, maybe something like this, is equal to that. So I'm running this query here. Oops. Now since there's only one where clause here, I could easily do it this way instead. So instead of that, I will do a where and then use user ID and all that. But I think this is okay. We can do it this way if we want. And then ARR may contain this and that. So let's just get this here, user ID, because I know that one is active already. So let's do this and say user ID and then point to this one right there. We can do that, or we can get it from here. Same thing, no difference here. Okay, so this is the currently logged in user. So these are the classes that person owns. So let's see the result of this right here. What is the result of that? So let's refresh, and there we go. So okay, it's complaining that user ID is undefined on line 73. Let's try and fix that error. 73. Wait a minute. What's going on? Oh, classes model. All right, I see. So the reason it has that problem is because I'm not selecting everything from here, right? So instead of doing this, because we know it's the user ID that we want, so let's just use the where clause instead here. So let's say classes where, and then we use user ID here. And then here we can simply put the user ID itself, like so. Okay, that way we don't need the query, but that's the query we are running either way. This will eliminate the error because now I'm getting all columns from the table. Our syntax error on line 56. I'm sure there's an extra bracket here that I can't see. Okay, I'm supposed to add that bracket there, sorry. Refresh, there we go. Okay, so at least, excuse me, at least we are getting this, which is nice, and then we can add this to the other rows that are already existing in here, right? So if I copy this and show both of this information, you will see that there's one class in each one of these. So there's this first class here, and there's the second one, both coming from two different tables. So one is coming from the members list, and the other is coming from the table where classes are actually saved once you create them. Okay, so all we need to do is combine these two arrays, and then we are good to go. So the only question we need to know is if this is true, then let's combine it to the other one. So if classes I own, like this, and this one as well, if both of these have something in there, then let's combine the two. So let me do this, and then I'm going to say array merge. Okay, so in here you just put two arrays together. I'm going to put this one here, so it doesn't matter which one you start with, but that's the order they are going to follow. And then let's combine this other one as well, but then we want this to be set in here like that. So this one is equal to that. So all we are doing here, to illustrate again, to explain, let me refresh here. Okay, so line 60, before I explain, there's an error here. I should have put a comma over there. Okay, cool. Let me explain. Yeah, so now at least we can see the class that we created. Now to explain again why this worked is because why it had failed in the beginning is because once you create a class, it lives in here in the classes table as it should be. But then there's another table where members are set. Just like we have students here and which classes they belong to, we also have lecturers and the classes they belong to. Now, once you create a class, it doesn't live here because you're not designed as a member already. So the class will be in here. So all we have to do is get the list of which members, which lecturers belong to which class, and also get all the classes that haven't been assigned members yet because they will not belong to the other side. That way we get everything. All right, so we've created our class, and let me click on it, and this is our class. So what I need to do now is add some students. Okay, so we've created a class successfully. Now to add students, so let's do that in the next video.